Today's class is called The Greatest Lie Ever Told. But let's scratch that and say sold. Ever sold. Because there's a price. And we're paying for this thing even to this very day. Father, we come before you to glorify your name, to thank you for your love and your mercy, which endures forever. Asking you, Abba, to bless today's class. Bless all our brothers and sisters worldwide. Open their understanding to know the truth and to live as children supposed to live before you. Help us to love you with all our soul, heart, and mind. And I pray that you will cause our people to turn away from the wicked ways and from following the heathen, that they will cleave unto you and become the people that you want us to be. Make the time short, Father. Restore us back to the covenant. I ask that you will bless us, bless my lips, that your name be glorified now and forevermore. In Yeshua's name, amen. Hallelujah. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to share with you all some things that most of us begin our walk or begin our life when we start off in churchianity. My email was able to dig up this book that we had in the family. It's fallen apart, but there's no cover on it. But these are like children's Bible story books. A bunch of pictures in here, and I'll share with you all some things that you all can see. And these things are the things that indoctrinate our people. So y'all can see these Bible readers and whatnot. When you join a church or some fellowship assembly, a lot of times, brothers and sisters, we're given literature, not only for the adults, but also for the children's. Okay? And our children learn very, very early, and the images that are in those books are stamped upon our minds. And we believe those things because the Bible told me so. Huh? No, Elder? Let's read the book of Proverbs, chapter 29. Let me pull up. And I'm telling you, Mishpachah, it is very important for us to open our big eyes. I used to combine the words together. Big eyes, big eyes. This is important to recover sight because we have been blinded by the nations that be, brothers and sisters, and it's time for our people to open our eyes and see the lies that have been told to us. We got to get out of that. Proverbs 29, and let's read verses 12.
If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked.
What does that mean? Would you say that a teacher can be considered a ruler? A principal? It's not just a king that rules over people. Teachers, administrators, police officers, you name it. But education is where we're focusing on right now. What about your pastor? Is he considered to be a ruler over the people? Doesn't he rule the people with guide the people with words? Is that correct? Read it again one more time. If
a ruler hearken to lies.
So if you have the rulers feeding on lies, read.
All his servants are wicked.
What about the people that listen to the ruler? They're all wicked. Because are lies a good thing or is it a wicked thing? It's evil. So if the people are listening to a ruler who has been listening to lies, brothers and sisters, all the people are wicked. Y'all understand this? So what about our people who are still caught in the big lie, the greatest lie ever told? Let me ask you all this. What is the greatest lie ever told? Let me get some voices here. You can pass the mic around. I like to see from our brothers and sisters in the chat room. What is the greatest lie ever told? That we're Gentiles saved by what?
Grace.
Gentiles saved by grace. Say something, Ima.
That we are Gentiles.
That we are Gentiles. That's so to you that is the greatest lie. Why is that?
Because we are the Hebrew children.
No, not the reason, but give me an explanation. Why do you believe that the people telling us that we are Gentiles is the greatest lie ever
because
told?
they don't want us to know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And they want us to stay in our sin so that we will not be saved.
Okay, one brother says Christianity. Another one says once saved, always saved. Another one says that we are Africans. Greatest lies keeps us in sin. I don't understand that one. Pictographs. So my brother is saying the pictographs are the greatest lies. Well, that's important too.
That Yeshua came to save the whole world.
That God loved the whole world.
Yes.
Okay. Image of the beast. Salvation is for the church. Old Testament done away with. Well, guess what? We can put all of that together in one basket, and that's a great lie. Because within one thing, you have all the other things. It's like a capsule that's released. It releases all these different medication, right? Hallucinations and stuff. All right, Mishpachah. So we understand that if a ruler hearken to the lies, all his servants going to be considered wicked. Let's look at Operation Liathon. You ever heard of that before? Operation Liathon. First of all, destroy the people of the book, which is by diminishing. And to diminish means you make everybody on the same playing field. All is equal. We're all the same. God loves us all. God so loved the world, and we're all just the same. And or hide those people of the book, by blotting who those people are out of the book, or skewing information about the people in the book to mean something else. This is destruction. When you alter something, you're destroying it. Destroy the book that speaks of the people. Again, inclusion, which brings up nothing but confusion, because you include everybody in this book, and whereby creating an atmosphere of immense confusion. Destroy the author of the book. That's changed the message. So if the author of the book says, I don't like sodomites, I don't like lies, I don't like this, I don't like that, you put this image of the author as being a very angry, male chauvinist type of a person, like a dictator. You can't think for yourself. We're all robots, whatnot. Start to project or portray the creator as being a very wicked person. And thereby you change the message. There's lots and lots more we can look at. Indoctrination. Let's look at the definition of this. The process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. That means you cannot change it. You can't criticize it. You can't say anything against it. It's already set. Okay? A set of beliefs. Now, we have a set of beliefs too, don't we? And that's the word of the Most High. It's the whole book. So we are supposed to stick with the whole entire book, not partial, not pick and choose. It's the whole entire book. As a matter of fact, let's continue. Let's look at some things here. Now, on the screen, Mishpachah, we're going to examine a few things here. We're going to spend some time examining some of the literature, you call it literature, but the literature that has been pushed against our own people. A perfect example is this book. I think it's an Adventist book. Is that correct, Ima? An Adventist book. It's called Bible Reader's Digest. So if you go to an Adventist church, this is probably an older one. They're always coming out with new stuff all the time and things like that. So I save these books. I save these books so I can teach our people how to detect lies. Just like the Secret Service will teach you how to detect a counterfeit dollar. They will show you the real thing, and they'll show you the fake one. They'll show you the real paper that the real money should be printed on, and they'll show you the fake one, the fake paper that the fake money is printed on. They'll even show you the real paper that the fake stuff is printed on too. They're going to show you all varieties. So this is the cover of a book, and it says Bible Reader's Digest. Now, if you look carefully, you see there's a picture of some angels. Angel above, you see there's a Bible, so-called Bible open. There's a Gentile Caucasian to the top, and notice to the bottom, there's a dark-skinned person at the bottom. Why is that? Anyone can help me with that? And then in between, you see there's a woman who's Caucasian riding a red dragon, a beast. And Rome, the silhouette of Rome is in the background. Now, why do you think that they use a Gentile woman to portray a harlot on a beast? Why is that? Anyone? Who are the ones that's always portrayed as being very attractive? The who? The Gentiles. The Gentiles are the ones who are always portrayed as being very attractive. Now, if you notice the images on the screen, I'll blow it up so y'all can see it in a moment. There is a seal or some signet on the forehead of the European. And there's a signet on the other person on the bottom. Now, this person on the bottom is of dark skin, as y'all can see. But they even went as far as just keeping him with straight hair, right? But we know we have dark people with straight hair and the dark people with curly hair. So we'll leave that be. But it says 2001 answers to your Bible questions. What's the first thing that happens to a young child when they pick up something like this? What do they do? What do they look at? The pictures. All right, let's move on. And who belongs to God? Let's see who belongs to God. Now notice the close-up on the screen. It shows you that the Caucasian guy has the seal, the so-called seal of God. Notice it says God and New Jerusalem on his forehead. Y'all see that? So what does that say? What message do you think a young child is going to have when they see that? And let's look at who Satan belongs to. You see the image in the bottom? Dark-skinned guy? He has a sun image on his forehead. Notice it has the pentagram of Satan on his forehead. Make it a little bit bigger so y'all can see this, because I know y'all don't believe nothing I'm saying, right? Y'all don't believe what I'm saying. All right, let's zoom in here. See that? 666. Do y'all see that, Mishpaka? See the pentagram and a dark-skinned person? Let me tell you something. In this world of captivity, we can never win. It's always asked, why do you focus on complexion? I'll tell you why. Because the nations focus on complexion. If the people focus on that thing, especially when you talk about the Messiah and his chosen people, and who's used as an image for salvation, and who's used as an image for damnation, to them, it's very important. Because don't tell me that you go into the world to learn something and you're learning how to sweep streets. Or you're learning to have an education to be like the other nations because that's what you see as being successful, not being a bum. So if the world is focusing upon certain things that denote success, shouldn't we also be focusing upon success likewise? Absolutely. So if the world is focusing upon complexion and saying this is how the righteous is supposed to look like, don't tell me that that's not important for us also. It's important. If you want to be able to break down lies, you have to show what a lie is. You can't cover it up by saying, well, let's not talk about that because it's too sensitive. Really? So we're supposed to sit back and let someone stick a bottle in our mouth and drink without asking any questions. Because that's what we call indoctrination. You're not criticizing, you're not analyzing anything. We just feed on that thing. We don't want to talk about it. It's too sensitive. Well, let's break some sensitivity today. So the European now, let's go look at the European. Look how beautiful. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you all want to be like that too? Look at that. The blonde hair and the blue eyes. That's the symbol of being.
Eyes.
Huh?
The blonde hair and the cold eyes.
I got a video for you all to watch.
Cold eyes.
Let's cover this first, okay? Because what we're going to look at is how the whole Protestant and Christian world, all of them, Catholic and Protestant, have always depicted our people. And in most cases, you got to grab some of the old material because the root is what builds the tree. I don't care if you can spray paint the leaves. You can make one leaf this color and that leaf, or you can do whatever you want. You can paint the tree, whatever color you want. But the root speaks about the tree. So if the root of Christianity has always been against our people, and we've been looking at a certain way, brothers and sisters, that's the greatest lie ever told. Okay? And we've been feeding on this thing and diminishing our people, believing that to be who we are, God doesn't want us. The Most High don't love us. So we have to portray ourselves in the image of other people. So this is the seal that the Adventist Church put out and saying, well, this is how God's people supposed to look. You see that? 666 on the bottom. And remember, it goes back to the bottom. Who's always on the bottom? Our people. Who's always on the top? Okay. Did I make this thing up? I didn't publish this thing. It's right here. Here's a copy of it. Let's move on. So who belongs to God? They have the Europeans. Who belongs to Satan? The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. If you teach your children, if a child sees this image, what does it say? Look at the image of black people as animalistic, devil-like with a mean stare. And look at the other image. White people are pure, kind, caring, intelligent with a loving smile. Who would you want to bring home to be part of your family? Huh? This is a Benetton 1982 billboard ad. Benetton, United Colors, United. Does it look united to you? Of Benetton. Benetton is a European, I believe it's a European fashion company. They make a lot of clothing out there. Our people buy their sweaters, they buy their clothing. You understand that? But look how they portray. Now, a picture is 1,000 words. Look at that. The dark-skinned child looks like a devil. Remember? Go back here. That's Satan. Anyone who has the seal of Satan is a child of the devil. Anyone who has a seal of Elohim is a child of God. You see this right here, the pointed horns? The hair is pointed up. Do our people grow hair like that? Does our hair grow like that? So somebody had to fashion the hair to look like that. Is that correct? Notice the child is not smiling. The child looks rough, not smiling. And the other one has the Shirley Temple curls, beautiful smile, innocent looking eyes. Brothers and sisters, when our children see this stuff, they're indoctrinated into this foolishness and they start to believe these lies. Now, our children don't feel within themselves that they are successful because, after all, the church is the one that teaches our children, our people. When they go to a Adventist church and they're given this book, The children are looking at these colors. They see black on the bottom, they see white on the top. And they start feeling very depressed, elder. Start thinking, well, I don't want to be in the bottom like that. I want to be on the top. Now, in this book, we have some things. Let's analyze this thing. I need somebody to help me with the reading. This is chapter 10 in this book. And in chapter 10 says, the true Israel of God. Let's look at how they will be slick about stuff when our people sit in these churches, how they get bamboozled with these lies. Go ahead and read.
Upon whom was the name Israel first bestowed? And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed.
That's the book of Genesis
32:28. As implied in the text, the word Israel means a prince or one who prevails with God.
So he has power with God, right? So that's clear. He has power with the Most High. He's not little, not belittle. In other words, he's very special. It doesn't say other people. Let's read the next one, the next question. We're going to see the transition, okay, of the lies. Go ahead and read.
Afterward, who came to be called by this title? Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. Joseph was in Egypt already. Exodus 1:1-5. In other words, the descendants of Jacob were the 12 tribes of Israel.
So is that a lie? That's correct, right? Okay. Now look at the title again. It says, the true Israel of God. Why does it emphasize, why does it say the word true before the word Israel? Because there's a what? A false one. Let's go to the next question.
What are the blessings bestowed on the Israelites as enumerated by Paul?
So one of the blessings bestowed on Israelites spoken of by Paul, right? Go ahead.
Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises? Who are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came?
Notice in the thing, it has it in italics, and of whom, as concerning the flesh. So what are they trying to suggest here? When they put that in italics, the focus becomes what?
It's not in the original writing.
Well, it's an emphasis. They're trying to make an emphasis on the flesh. They're taking the focus away from being a prince or having power with God. Now they're starting to diminish. So it's not about the flesh anymore. Okay, but they want you to see it's about the flesh. Paul's focus was about the flesh. And that's Romans 9, verses 4 and 5. Let's read the next one. Let's look at the transition.
But did the apostle consider all those who belong to the 12 tribes as true Israelites?
Y'all see that? But did the apostle consider all those who belong to the 12 tribes as true Israelites? Question. So they're making the devil. Remember, the devil says, yea, have God said? He puts in a little question. And then you start to scratch your head. Well, wait a minute. Let's read what it says.
They are not all Israel, which are of Israel, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. But in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Verse 6 and 7. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed.
You see that? Now, does that make any sense? Isn't a seed something physical? And isn't flesh physical also? But there is a play on here. They're trying to say, they which are the flesh of the flesh, these are not the children of God. So now you're starting to make a separation here by skewing the words of Shaul. Let's read on. Verses 8.
Thus we see that the apostle makes the true Israel depend on their being children of God. Otherwise, even though being literal descendants of Abraham, they are not counted as Israel.
See that? Otherwise, even though being literal descendants of Abraham, they are not counted as Israel. This is called bait and switch. Y'all see that? That's confusion. Let's go to page number 47.
What did John the Baptist say to those who came to his baptism? And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. Matthew 3:9. God is not dependent on you, the literal seed of Abraham, to perpetuate Israel. He can raise up the true children of Abraham from these stones if he sees fit. Therefore, do not think you are to receive of these blessings unless you become children of God. These are in substance the words of John, and show that the name Israel in the true sense is not to be limited to any particular nation, but includes all the true followers of God.
See that? So it's not about Israel anymore. So Jacob wrestled for no reason whatsoever. He wrestled for no reason. In the true sense, is not to be limited to any particular nation, but includes all the true followers of God. Let's get the next question.
What does it require to be counted a child of Abraham?
Let's see what it says.
Know ye therefore that they which are of faith, the same are the children of Abraham.
So it's all about a spiritual thing. Just believe. These are the children of Abraham. Galatians 3:7. So you see they're picking and choosing stuff, right? Let's move on.
By what means does one become heir to the promise of God to Abraham?
So how do you become an inheritor of the promise? Okay, let's see what it says, verses 20.
And if he be Christ, then are he Abraham's seed and heir according to the promise.
So if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed. So anybody can slip in. Let's look at the next question.
And by what name are Christians also known?
So now the switch the name is now it's about Christians, right? Okay. And by what name are Christians also known? Go ahead and read.
And as many as walk according to this rule, peace be on them and mercy and upon the Israel of God.
See that? Christians are now called the Israel of God. That's what they're saying. And as many as walk according to this rule, peace be on them and mercy and upon the Israel of God. So they make a suggestion and they push some stuff in there to force the thing to fit. Let's go to the next question. We got more, brothers and sisters. That's why I'm moving on. Let's see the lies.
We are taught to address God as our Father. By what right may we do this?
Read.
You have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. Romans 8:15. That is, we are adopted into the family of God and are given the name of children by virtue of his adopting us, who were homeless and friendless. The Jews had that distinctive title until they forfeited it.
So until they forfeited their position, we had it once. That's what they're saying. We've just forfeited it. So John the Baptist, forfeit. Even the Messiah himself forfeited it. Because wasn't he called the King of the Jews? Yeah. So he forfeited that too. Okay. Let's go to our next part. To whom did Paul say? Read.
To whom did Paul say the gospel would first be the power of God? For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first and also to the Greek.
Also to the Greek. So the Greeks are included, right? See, let's move on.
When Jesus sent forth the 12 disciples to preach, to whom did he first send them? These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter he not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Okay, so is that a lie? But they're showing that he first went there. But that first is just the first, but the last will be the first, and the first will be the last.
But the whole thing doesn't make sense.
Why? Speak to us.
Because if they're saying that Jesus, was sent to the lost sheep, because that's what they're saying, right? But then he said they forfeited it. Do you see what I'm saying to you? And now he's including everybody when he said, don't go to the Gentiles. So you see what I'm saying to you?
Yep, I see exactly what you're saying.
They're like taking his words and twisting it and making him a liar, basically.
Let's go to the second part of that.
When the woman of Canaan came to Christ, beseeching him to heal her daughter, and the disciples requested that she might be sent away, what reply did the Savior make? But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Isn't that true? So he says, I am sent, and then you read the one before that, it says he sent forth his disciples. So he was given a responsibility, he was given a directive, go do this, and he did that. Then he took those men and says, I want you to do what I was given. Go reach Israelites. Is that correct? But he didn't change anything later on. But let's see what these people are pushing out, Mishpachah.
48.
Let's go to our next. Let me make it a little bit bigger so y'all can see the lies a little closer. Y'all like to see lies close, up and close? Huh? Oops. Sorry about that. Let's get the lies a little bit closer. Now remember, these are the books that they put together so our people can get bamboozled properly. Let's read.
When she persisted in her request and fell down to worship Christ, what did he say to her? But he answered and said, it is not meet, it says proper or right.
That's their interjection.
To take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. It is, verse 26, it is thus plain that if the Jews had not rejected Christ, they would have still maintained the preeminence.
Wait a minute. It is that, read that again. Read that. But he answered and said, it is not meet, or they say proper or right, to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Now they're following up by saying, it is thus plain that if the Jews had not rejected, where did you find any rejection there? Do y'all see any rejection?
No.
Did anybody reject anything there?
No.
So how did they put this interjection about a rejection? It is thus plain that if, it is thus plain, that means we all can see it, that if the Jews had not rejected Christ, read,
they would have still maintained the preeminence as the children of God.
But
Paul says,
where does Paul say anything here? Read.
But Paul says that we are entitled to cry, Abba, Father, because we have been adopted into his family and now bear the name Israel in common with those who were first called by that name.
You see the lie that's here?
Yes. It's a really big lie. Now,
this is what our people have been feeding on for a long time. You go to, let's go on. Welcome. Da, 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 da. Welcome to a Sabbath school. Everybody's coming to church. Sit down on the bench, and I'll greet you to give you one of those book of lies for you to hold. And you're not even reading the thing for yourself. You're not reading. My people are destroyed for what?
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. We don't read. Say something.
No, I was saying that the way they have it twisted, people who are not studying their Bible and not reading the word, they go once a week to the congregation, they sit down, they listen to the minister, and they never go home and read the book for themselves to see if what they're telling you there is true or not. So they have that, that habit or custom of doing that. So you never saw it before.
Until you stop and you start to look at the thing. Let's read the next part.
Mm.
Let's pick up some speed here.
When the name Israel was first born by God's ancient people.
Oh, they're ancient.
Now we're ancient.
We're not living anymore. It's like a fossil. Ancient people, read.
How did he illustrate their standing before him?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord called thy name a green olive tree.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Read.
Fair and of goodly fruit.
Uh-huh.
With the noise of a great tumult, he have kindled fire upon it,
Mm-hmm.
and the branches of it are broken.
Notice it talks about the tree, right? Okay, so all that is true. But let's see what they're doing. They're trying to set it up to say, okay, it's broken now. Now something has replaced. Let's go to the next part. What does it say?
The first house of Israel being cut off.
Uh-huh.
How does Paul say that Israel now exists?
How does Israel now exist? Paul. I feel so sorry for Paul, I think when the kingdom comes, Paul is going to have to hide. Like, let's say there's like the, what do you call that judge? He's not really a judge, the magistrate that analyzes everything before he goes to the real judge, right? When the magistrate is calling the names to analyze who has to show up in court, Paul's going to be hiding way in the back. Yes.
I don't think he will be hiding. I think he will step forward and he'll say, the book was not yours in the first place.
Mm.
Exactly. You stole it.
I think Peter's going to look at Paul and says, I told you, your letters was too hard to understand, that the people wrestle to their own destruction. I told you. I put it in the writing. Didn't I tell you that, Paul? Yes, you did say something about that.
Yeah, but the people that wrestle is not people, is the Gentiles who stole the book.
Peter would say, listen, man, I only had 2 letters that I wrote. 2 letters, 1st and 2nd Peter. That's it. I only wrote 2 letters. You wrote a whole bunch of letters. And now look at the people. Look at all those people. Let's read that again. The first house.
The first house of Israel being cut off. How does Paul say that Israel now exists?
Uh-huh.
And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, wert grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
Now notice it says partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. It's only the branches that is broken off, right? So the first house of Israel being cut off. Notice, let's go back to Jeremiah 11:16. It says, the Lord called your name a green olive branch.
Tree.
Olive branch.
Tree.
It says a tree. Doesn't a tree have branches?
Yep.
And leaves?
Yes.
And roots?
Yes.
And everything else?
Yes.
So that's a whole tree is Israel, right?
Yeah.
Goodly fruit, even the fruit is Israel.
Yeah.
Everything is Israel. And it says, with the noise of a great tumult, he have kindled fire upon it, the tree, and the branches of it are broken. Just the branches. Now, when you go down to Romans 11, and if some
of the branches
be broken off, so what about the rest of the tree?
It's
still there.
Yes.
And you, being a wild olive what?
Tree.
So wait a minute, wild olive tree. How did you become a wild olive tree? Anybody that knows anything about agriculture would know. If I cut a branch of a tree, like I have a fig tree, I cut the branch and I throw it on the ground somewhere in the bushes, as long as that thing is touching the soil, it will make some roots.
Yes.
But it's in the bushes. Nobody's taking care of that tree.
Yes.
The branches are it's broken off.
Yeah.
It's on the ground. It's starting to make some shoots. It's trying to live.
Right.
But nobody's taking care of it. It's going to grow into a tree.
And it become wild.
It'll become wild.
Everywhere.
Now, I can go back into the bushes later on, clean out around the tree, cut part of that tree,
and graft
prune
it back,
and put it right back to the original tree. What do you call that? Grafting back into the original tree.
Yes, exactly.
So what are these people talking about? Let's read this note.
When some of the Jewish branches were cut
You
off,
see how they call us? Jewish.
were cut off because of their unbelief, the roots and stalk of the olive tree are presented as
Are
represented as still being left.
Mhm.
Christ has died for the world, and although his people rejected him, he will not change the plan in the least.
That's confusion. Read.
Now, everyone who comes to him must be grafted into the present stock of
The
Israel,
parent
the
stock.
parent stock of Israel, and take that name. Sorry,
Is that
very
according to the
small.
Bible? Huh? Okay. See, this is confusion. This is a very good, well-packaged lie. Let's go to the next question.
But he says that the people rejected him,
Yeah, so how are you going to go back into something that's rejected?
you know. But the people did not reject him.
Let's say that you have a lung that is rejecting something, right? And you're trying to put something into that lung that rejects. How is that thing going to work? That's madness. That's craziness.
It
That's
rejects something that is foreign to it.
Let's read
You
the
know?
next part.
But if Gentiles are thus grafted into that stock, does it not change that to a Gentile tree?
But if Gentiles are thus grafted into that stock, does it not change that to a Gentile tree?
Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
Let's go to the next one.
Lest the Gentiles' grafts should boast by saying that the Jews were broken off to let them come in, what does the apostle say? Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Verse 20 and 21. God is not dependent on anyone to sustain the olive tree of Israel. He can cut off the Gentile grafts as easily as he did the natural branches, if they disobey his word and supply their place with others more worthy.
All right. Let's read this bottom piece right here.
May not the broken branches be again grafted into this tree? And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. Verse 23. Notice, the tree stands the same, however, many branches are cut off or grafted into it. It is still Israel. And when Gentiles and Jews who believe are all together grafted into this tree under the new covenant, it will still be to all intents and purpose.
Let me go to the next part so we can see the rest of the confusion.
Yes.
Let's go up. We'll read Isaiah in a little bit again, because we read it before, but we have to counter these poisons.
Yes, it will still be to all intent and purpose an Israelitic tree, yet a portion of its branches at least are formed by the grafting in of Gentiles.
The grafting in of Gentiles. Let's go to our next part.
And how will all Israel be saved? And so all Israel shall be saved. Verse 26. So means in the manner previously described, if the Jews fall out, their places will be filled by Gentiles, changed into Israelites.
Gentiles what?
Changed into Israelites. And so all Israel will be saved.
So now they're saying once the Gentiles come in, they are replacing Israel. So now Israel is saved because the Gentiles has taken their seat. Did I make this stuff up? I mean, I'm not that smart. Do y'all see what's going on here with these people? This is madness. Hey, Elder? Let's continue to the next madness. Let's go.
Before Gentiles become a part of Israel,
Mhm.
in what condition are they? Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles, that at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
Mhm.
Ephesians 2:11 and 12.
So before Gentiles become part of Israel, in what condition are they? So they're saying, well, the Gentiles were the strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But they fail to understand the history, which we're going to go into. They fail to see the history. Let's go to Zechariah.
I guess the question would be, why are these churches named Israelites, meaning Church of Israelites, whatever, or whatever the case may be, if they supposedly did the switcheroo to being Israel? Why are these church named Church of God, whatever, and this and that? Why are they taking the name Israel?
That's a good question, brother.
It should say Seventh-day Israelites.
7-day Israelites, right?
That's what
They're not
call it.
saying that. Let's get Zechariah chapter 10, verses 6. Okay, let's read verses 6. This is the future, because I don't know if this has happened yet. Maybe I fell asleep a little too long or something.
And I will strengthen the house of Judah,
Uh-huh.
and I will save the house of Joseph.
That's the two houses of Israel.
And I will bring them again to place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off.
Oh, so the casting off that is talking about is dealing with the house of Joseph and even Judah. So there's a history. How were they cast off? Okay? That's all we want from that. Let's go
For I
back to,
am Yah, the Elohim, and will hear them.
he's going to hear the whole world.
Them.
He's going to hear them.
Yes.
Let's go to verses 9. Skip on down to verses 9. Actually, read verses 8 to 9.
I will hiss for them
Uh-huh.
and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased.
Mm-hmm.
And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again.
That's all we need. So again, this is a prophecy about the restoration of the house of Israel. So this nonsense, they're taking our books and using it against us. Yes.
If you notice the writing, it says, again, I will place them again in their place. So the Gentiles were never in our place. So if you're placing some people back where they were, you know, it's not a new set of people you taking and putting back where they were.
Well, it works in musical chairs, though. You know? In musical chairs, once you leave your spot, somebody takes it and that's it. You can't come back. Musical chairs. That's what they teach you. Didn't you learn musical chairs in school as a child?
But they came up with those things too.
That's the Gentiles. That's what they create. So they remove Israel. Once you get up out of your seat, that's it. The Gentiles going to sit in your seat. Mishpachah, this is a big lie. Let's go back to the big lies. I'm sorry, Mishpachah, but you have to see this. As painful as it is, you have to see it for yourself. Let's read the note now.
If in order to be saved, Gentiles must become Israelites.
Must be do what?
Become Israelites. As in everywhere asserted. Then when converted from their Gentile ways to the ways of Israel, they certainly must conform to the moral law God gave to Israel anciently. Otherwise, it would not be the commonwealth of Israel, but of the Gentiles.
So if the people has taken the spot of Israel, they got to go back to the moral precepts. That's what they're saying. But they're not talking about the feast and other things. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one.
In the closing work of the gospel, what will be the tenets of God's people? Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
In the closing work of the gospel, meaning the book of Revelations, is over, right? That's the last book. That's when the gospel is shut up, right? What will be the tenets of God's people? What will they be keeping? Well, God's people will be keeping the commandments. and the faith of Jesus, right? Let's read on. And what?
And what will be the reward of the commandment keepers? Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
So it's the same Goldilocks and the Three Bears type of thing, where somebody moved out and somebody moved in, and now everything in the house has been altered to suit the person who's occupying that spot. Because now it's speaking about gates into the city. Remember, it starts off by showing Israel the 12 tribes, first Jacob and then the 12 tribes. They started off giving us that, but now they're going to end by bringing us something else, because it's not going to end with the same way that they begin. It's going to end with they taking over the promise. Let's see the next one. Whose names? Question.
Whose names are found inscribed in the foundations of the city of God. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
Okay. So now they're showing that the wall had the 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. That's the focus. But let's look at the gates now. Whose names?
Whose names are over the 12 gates. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
So it speaks about the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, but no Israelites. Just the names, just the name only. Just the names. So Goldilocks has moved in, and now she has become the Three Bears. Let's go to the next part.
Yes, and there's no Issachar and there's no real people.
Who will have the privilege?
Who will have the privilege of walking in the light of that city? And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it.
So now they're saying the nations. So see, brother, it's the nations. Read on. Let's read the notes.
It says, this city of the New Jerusalem will be for all nations that are saved, and yet they must enter that city through gates on which are written the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. More than this, the names of the 12 apostles are to appear in the foundations of the city. The name of Israel will not only be perpetuated, but those who bear that name will be from all nations and will be associated with Christ and the 12 apostles. When one of the 12 fell, another was appointed to take his place, in order to preserve the exact number. To these Jesus said, ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. We find them again in the New Jerusalem, blended with the tribes of Israel. Israel is sure to triumph, and those who join themselves to Israel will finally triumph with them.
Okay.
Now that's confusion in itself.
That's major confusion. So what they're focusing on is that in the kingdom to come, that all the nations of them that are saved are Gentiles. So they use the whole history. They use the end part and make the history based upon the end part, saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. Who can help me with the understanding about the nations? Who knows where to go? Where can we go to get the proper understanding of that? Genesis where?
Genesis chapter 40.
49? Let's take a look and see. Book of Genesis chapter
48, verse 19.
48 and verses 19. Let's read from verses 17, okay?
And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put your right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
Multitude of nations, plural. We're a multitude of nations. We're scattered all over the earth, and we have to be regathered again. This is what the book said. Now, the reading in Revelations here is speaking about after the 1,000 years is over. Is that correct? So how come they jump over what happens to the Gentiles, the so-called non-Hebrews, non-Israelites, and they went straight to the finale with the Father's kingdom? What happened to the other part? What does Isaiah 14 say? Let's read Isaiah 14. Now, we have already been through a lot of these stuff, so I'm not going to go through the exercise of explaining again. We're just going to touch on a few things and move on. We got a lot of other stuff to show.
For Yah will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yah for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
Now notice it says house of Jacob. There's no broken house of Jacob at this time. This is a restored covenant. And now they're going to be taking other nations to be servants. Y'all see that? All right. So an article was sent to me. Let me see if we can find it here. There it is. Here it is, right on the screen. If you became a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church before 1985, your baptismal vow would most likely include some explicit prohibition against pork, but in recent years, attitudes have been changing among Adventists, and their once biblical appeal to Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14 as divine command against the consumption of these unclean beasts have equally fallen by the wayside. It was not long ago that you would hear a pastor reviewing his candidates on this question of pork, among other unclean foods, by name. But those days are quickly being thrown to the thrash heaps of history, insofar as the official SDA theology on this question is concerned. So, guess y'all can look it up. Okay, y'all can check it out yourselves. Let's go back to our study. Check it out for yourself, Mishpachah. Porky pig is now being eaten by the SDA church. Let's go back to our presentation. Now, this is another church similar to the Adventist church who has a book called The Bible Home what? Instructor. It's called the Church of God Seventh Day. Okay, Church of God Seventh Day. You know Armstrong, Herbert W. Armstrong? Well, this is another branch of the same Christian tree. Okay. Now, in the book, and I have the book here. This is the bind copy one that I have. Okay, I have two of them as reference books, and they, being a branch, they always claim that they were never a branch of the Adventist church, but that's not true. And you look at the tree, they all were one family. They broke away from the Adventists and started their own thing. Okay. They have within their doctrinal studies Bible Home Instructions, or instructor. this particular question, and one day I sat there and I was like, wait a minute. For somebody to put this in the book, they're also making another assumption. Let's read the title. The title is called The Colored Man, His Origin, Religion, and Destiny. The Colored Man. So when you read through the whole book, it doesn't speak anything about color, but all of a sudden you come here and they make it an important part of their study. The colored man. So, if the colored man has a part to play as far as the Bible is concerned, let's read. Let's go through this thing. We'll get the question. Let's read it.
I need that already.
Let's read it.
Just by the title.
Let's take a look at it, okay? Because it's making a suggestion that the other people. Let's read. The colored man. Question number 1.
The colored man.
And after this, we'll take a break and we'll come back, okay?
His origin, religion, and destiny.
All right, hold on. I'll make it bigger. Y'all want to see the lies a little bit bigger. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Here we go. Is that better? You can see the lies a little better? Is that better? All right. Let's go. This is page number 363. So you know this is a copy of this book. I'm not telling a lie. I'm showing you the whole truth. The greatest lie ever told. Read.
What were the names of the 3 sons born to Noah, the posterity of whom lived on this side of the flood and populated the whole earth? And Noah was 500 years old.
That's correct.
And Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From which of these sons did the colored race originated, and how do we know?
So how do we know that the people are coloreds? Coal reds. Okay, read.
And the sons of Ham.
Wait a minute. Let me get my little tools here. My little tools. Go ahead. Notice they went straight to who?
Ham.
Our people always the worst meats, huh? Ham. We're not the lamb, but we're the ham. Oh boy. Go ahead.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. Genesis 10:6. The word Ham, as a Hebrew adjective, always means black and warm. Therefore, as the name Ham was given to the son of Noah, it signifies the color and thus the origination of the colored race.
Read.
The name Ethiopia is the Greek and Roman equivalent for the Hebrew name Cush, who was the descendant of Ham. Cushite in the Hebrew is the same as Ethiopian in the Greek and Roman, and the Cushites settled the country of Ethiopia, which in Bible times was known as the unbounded lands south of Egypt, spoken of also as the land of Ham.
So they're identifying people of color as being from the seed of Ham, okay? In other words, Shem is where we have Hebrews. Is that correct? So in other words, what they're telling you when it mentions the title about the colored race, they're saying that the people of Shem and Japheth are white. And the black people are from Ham. Jews are white, Hamites are black Gentiles. But there are white Gentiles and there are white Jews or white Israelites from Shem. Do y'all see that? This is what they're implying in their book, just by default. We'll cover the movies. We'll get into that too. Let's read on. Question number 3.
What further Bible proof have we that the Ethiopian race are the colored race? Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Jeremiah 13:23.
So a white person can't change their skin. Ethiopians are dark skinned, they can't change that. White people can change. Is that what they're saying? What exactly they're saying? Let's read the next part. We'll break it down. Let's read the next part.
Note,
Uh-huh.
Ham is the only son of Noah after whom a country was named. This was before Christ, 2:23:48, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it is spoken of as the land of Ham in Psalms 105:23 and 27. Also 106:22, as well as elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The term Ethiopia is a Greek and Roman word meaning Cush in the Hebrew. And the Ethiopians or Cushites were black. And Jeremiah declared could not change their color.
Mm-hmm.
The late geographical name for this country is
Abyssinia.
Abyssinia.
Let's read the last part, the bottom.
Have the colored people taken any active part with the chosen people of God during the past ages?
That's the question. Have the colored people, which are the Hamites, taken any active part with the chosen white people of God during the past ages? Because when you say that all black people is under Ham, and then you mention in contrast the chosen people, does it say the chosen people are black? Are they implying that the chosen people are black? No. They are implying that the chosen people are white. So for 400 years, white people were in Egypt. Let's read. Moses.
And the black people made them slaves.
And the black people made the white people slaves. Let's read. Moses
married an Ethiopian woman, the queen of Sheba, about whom we read, journeying to meet King Solomon. 1 Kings 10:1-3, 2 Chronicles 9:1-12.
Number 5, when the prophet Jeremiah was cast into a dungeon and about to perish, who reported his condition to the king and led the soldiers to his rescue? It mentions Ebed-Melech right here, the Ethiopian. He's the one that rescued Jeremiah. So therefore, the black people, they did some good things in the Bible. They helped the good white people, white folks. Y'all see that? Okay. And it talks about Philip, number 7. Number 8, again, the spirit with Philip and the eunuch and all that stuff. So without spending too much time on this, Mishpachah, you can see that the literature of these denominations have always suggested that we were not the people of the Most High. That people of color were never the people of the Most High. The people of the Most High has always been white of the skin. Okay? If you're black, it's bad. If you're white, it's good. It's right. Brown, you're wrong, and white, you're right. This is another book. I'm not sure what book it is. Yeah, the question is, was Adam born in Georgia clay? Now, this is a picture of, where's the book? This book right here. This book right here. It's falling apart, but this is the book. Don't have the cover anymore. And it says, God makes man. And it shows you a picture of a man that looks like Georgia clay. All right. Let's move to our next slide. On page number 15 of the same book, it uses this title, Fairest Creature of Creation. And when we use the term fairest, this is what we must look at. This right here. This is the picture of what fairest should look like. Y'all see that? Okay. This is the fairest creature of creation. This is supposed to be Adam's wife. So when a child picks up a book, this particular book, and is reading that in their mind, and let me tell you something, I went through the whole entire book looking for people of color, and I only found there's a couple of places, and I'll show that to you so you can see for your own self, okay? So it's talking about Adam being alone, and he had the creatures around him, but this woman was made, and this was his wife. But let's move on. Now let's look at Moses. Moses, is that you? They also have in the book that Moses was rescued, and this is what Moses looked like. This is a picture of Moses right over here. White. Now let's get the book of Exodus, and let's see what Exodus says about Moses. There's a couple places that we need to go. Let's get where the Most High told him to put his hand in his bosom. Exodus what? Let's get that, Exodus chapter 4, and let me pull it up so we all can see it. So brothers and sisters, we're going to look at the Bible and see what the Bible says.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand and take it by the tail.
Put your hand, take it by the tail.
And he put forth his hands and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. That they may believe that Yah, Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob have appeared unto thee. And Yah said furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom.
We got one more. Put your hand into your bosom.
And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
Leprous as snow. Is there any black snow that you all know about? There's no black snow. There is no black snow, okay? Unless you want to make it so. Snow, it says snow because it wants to let you know of color. And it's showing you the contrast between Moses' original hand and the color of snow. Now let's read on.
And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
His other flesh has to be a color of brown complexion. One of the shades of brown, okay? Now, what about the one where the girl says that we saw an Egyptian? Let's get that. Chapter 2 and 19. Let's go. Let's take a look at that too. Because remember, the Gentiles are saying through their Bible home instructor that the Egyptians were black. Okay, so if the Egyptians were black, how can you hide a white baby? A white baby, which is Moses, according to them, he was white, in black Africa. How can you do that? Exodus 2, what verse, brother? 19. Let's go.
And they said, An Egyptian delivered us.
Let's start at 18.
And when they came to Ruel, their father, he said, How is it that you are come so soon today?
So he's asking the girls, how come you're home so early? And what did she say?
And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock.
Now, if a white Egyptian showed up, I think that guy would be killed, because what the Gentiles would do, they would say, well, the way he was dressed. Now, does that make any sense? I'm a fugitive. I just broke out of prison. Pharaoh's hunting me down. One of the largest nation with the most power, superpower, has a bounty on my head for killing an Egyptian. What's the first thing I'm going to do if I'm running away from Egypt?
I'm going to change my garment.
I'm going to do what?
Change my garment.
So if I change my garment,
so yeah, disguise myself.
Hide myself from looking like an Egyptian. Yeah. Okay? But when I show up now, I'm going to put on some white paint on me. That didn't happen. The man was a person of color. This is how they were able to know that he was an Egyptian. Even his speech, because he was raised under the Egyptians. Yes.
Yeah, but the people who live in that area, rural and these people, they know what Egyptians look like.
Of course they do.
They're familiar with the area and they know the people. You know, they know the symbols. He probably was wearing a ring or something of Pharaoh or something with Pharaoh. You know.
Let's look at this picture here. So this is a picture of Jesus with all the children, right? Now notice all the children are what color? But right at the bottom, you have one big-eared Hebrew right here at the bottom. Y'all see him? He's so obscure, you can't even find him. Look how big his ears are. And his mouth is wide open like, please take a look at me. And Jesus is looking at everybody else but not him. He's not that important, you see. Y'all see that? The Hebrew is not that important because everybody else is white. You can see white, 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 white. Everybody, the children are white. This one little Negro child is there looking for attention, and he's not getting it. Y'all see that? Now, I didn't make this book. I didn't draw the stuff. I'm just showing you what they have in their book. Let's move on. Not blessed are the meek, but bleached are the meek. Look at this picture. Look at this picture here. What do we find? This is the kingdom to come, because after all, look at the clothing. This is not ancient Israel. So this is a picture of the new Jerusalem, right? The new kingdom where Christ is on the earth and he's here with all the children. But if you notice carefully, where are the dark-skinned children? Let's move on. Let's move on. Now, again, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Okay, in this particular section, story number 7, Night of Nights, it spoke about when Jesus was born. Okay, so let's move on. When Jesus was born. And it showed that the shepherds were all white. And you can see that Gabriel is white. You can see that the shepherds over here are white. Okay, people are white. Let's move on. Showed you over here. All the angels are white. Joseph is white. Jesus is even extra white. All right, he's learning from white Joseph. Okay, not a problem. Let's move on. Now, I want you to see something here in the reading. It says, sometimes, perhaps when he was 18, 19, or 20, Jesus would wonder, let me read it again. Jesus would wonder why he had to stay in a carpenter's shop so long. Now, this is what they're putting here for children to read. Jesus is hanging out like, why do I have to? I'm supposed to be my father's business. Why am I in the shop so long? Does that sound like they're projecting a confused Messiah? Like he doesn't know what he's about? With the world waiting for the message he had to give, why waste time bending over a bench, planing wood, sharpening saws and chisels? Yet, it was not time wasted. By striving always to do perfect work, he was preparing himself for the greater task ahead of him. You see that? So this is teenage Jesus. He doesn't have a beard. There's no beard in Jesus.
But see, the Bible has no record of him from 12 even to 30 years. There's nothing about his.
Well, they're saying that
but they're assuming this.
Per the haps. Let's move on. Now, remember I showed you the one little Negro child over here, hoping to get the attention, right? The only one in the whole of Jerusalem. Now, let's go to the end of the world. Now, Jesus is back. But notice there's only 3 that's going to make it in. One right here. Look at him right there with the woolly hair. One over here. He's an African. And there goes another one right here. Everybody else is what? Okay. You see the kind of stuff that they put. When a child look at this stuff, they see themselves as a minority. Yet the Europeans, they're the ones that are the minority. All right. So when we come back, we will pick it up and see the greatest lie ever told.